Hello everybody, welcome back to another 10 minutes with, it's not touring car related as such today.
Sort of.
It's touring cars, it's not the British ones. I went to the TCR finales at Silverstone on Saturday. I had a great time, Sunday even.
Yes.
I had a great time and I thought I'd just give a little 10 minutes worth to discuss my experiences of this different style touring car championship at a track we never get to see on the touring car calendar. So Sam, first of all, how are you? You didn't come with me. I was without you this weekend.
Yeah.
You decided not to come. You were offered the chance and you said no.
I was offered the chance, but yeah, I didn't take you up on it, and I don't think I missed out on too much because a lot of their coverage is shown on YouTube. So like throughout the day, I was updating you on bits and pieces. You were updating me on bits and pieces. So we were able to watch the whole thing, sort of in synchronisation, but obviously in two vastly different places.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about some of the pros of the day and some of the cons of the day and sort of see where it is to touring cars, the main thing that we all talk about. So I will say the actual experience overall was unbelievable. So we parked up on the Hamilton Straight car parking area near the new hotel.
Yeah, not actually on the straight.
Not actually on the straight, by the hotel. We had to go through the hotel to get trackside, so up to I think it was the fourth floor, then across that big glass Silverstone bridge that stretched across from the Hamilton Straight to the pit straight.
Yep.
Everything that side was open, so we were able to go into the BRDC area. We were able to have a real nice warm place to watch from inside on all the suites, etc. The ones that cost, I don't think how much they cost for F1 weekends. The riffraff like me wouldn't be allowed anywhere near it coming F1 weekend. I can't rub shoulders with Stormzy. It would be difficult for all involved.
He's a lot taller.
He's a lot taller and a lot cooler as well than me. But anyway, I don't want to be brushing the pels, as it were. There's a lyric somewhere there. Anyway, so that was really cool. That was access all areas on that part. Able to go down into the pits, able to walk into the pit garages as long as you weren't getting in the way. There was no barrier, no sort of, you're not a guest.
I imagine, having never seen that side of the circuit before, I imagine the garages are just as big and probably bigger than what you see on the national pit straight.
Way bigger. And what this weekend, because there's so many cars, they weren't sort of said, right, you have a garage each, just minis have this area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so TCRs have the area down the end. BMWs and Audis are sort of swapping in and out depending on when they're on the track. That was really cool. And so you could walk in, you could have a good peer into the cars and see what that was all about.
A lot more access overall then.
A lot more access without having to pay for that access. I know at touring cars it's open paddock and you can go and see, you can look in the garage and you can get tussed at by the team for being in the way as they're trying to wheel a load of tyres past you. Here you could walk into the garage itself. The unwritten rule was basically just don't get in the way, and if you're asked to move, which is fair enough. They're there to do a job. But of course, this is clubman racing.
I was going to say, am I right to think that even with the TCR side of things, the teams are a lot smaller, they're a lot more condensed, there's a lot fewer mechanics and team personnel? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, particularly the support series, which I'll come to in a minute, it was basically family, we're out for a day out and either supporting dad or mum or whatever, and it's a family thing. The TCR had a few more mechanics work on the car, but you're not seeing the team sizes that you get in the touring cars. But I say, it was cool to go and look at the cars. And the TCR cars are more DTM style in how...
Yeah, there's a lot more aero on them, isn't there?
Yeah, so there's hoping to be a picture on screen in a moment of one of the Cupras, which I managed to get a picture of right close in the garage. It's so much more beefier, so much closer to the ground, so much more wider. The aero is huge. It's like a muscular version of what we see in the touring car. So they take it to more DTM style aero packaging and stuff. They're a lot louder on circuit as well than touring cars as well.
Do you think they are any quicker for that, or do you think as a whole they're maybe a little bit slower, or do you think they're on par?
I think it's hard to tell because I've never seen touring car racing around that part of Silverstone. What I will say is that they did feel fast. So I sat in the grandstand at Lakeside, which is the final chicane, the Frucos Hamilton chicane for F1 fans amongst us. Free entry to the grandstand as well.
Yeah.
I would sit there and watch. And that chicane is so cool. It's so tight. It's so tight. You don't realise it until on the screen. And to think that it's not the F1 podcast, but I don't know how they get F1 cars side by side through that section because it is really tight. And there's a little bit of a camber up and a bit of hill change, a bit of elevation. Yeah. It's a really cool corner. And again, I'm going to come to Silverstone as a whole in a moment to where touring cars is missing out. But I do think they were probably on par, if not a little bit quicker than the touring cars. It'd be difficult. I'd like to see a touring car
side by side.
Yeah, or just go through that section of track so I can see the difference. But They were loud. They sounded a bit like fireworks. There's a good TikTok, if I say so myself, on our TikToks showing that. So go check that out because it gives you an idea of what they're like. The TCR racing itself, we'll go into a few cons, wasn't particularly great. So the first race was more exciting than the second race, I have to say.
Can I just say, the field number this weekend for TCR, were we looking at like 12 to 15 cars, depending on the race and depending on who was out there?
Yeah, so some names that weren't there this weekend. Will Powell has been in the series, wasn't there this weekend. There was no Jess Hawkins either.
Yep.
As you said, that there was only 16 cars, I believe, on the grid for race 2. I can't remember how many were on the grid for race 1. Race 2 saw a lot of retirements, or a lot of mechanical issues for cars, which isn't great.
And one thing that gets to me there is this is the last round of the season for TCR, and if they're having these reliability issues now, what were they like at the start of the season, sort of thing?
Yeah,
it's a little bit concerning if they're having those sorts of issues towards the end of the season.
The flip side is that they've had good reliability all season. There's just the components going because one does need to remember that this is a homogenised, if that's how you say it, homologated series, and that was actually quite cool. You could go in the pit lane, you could see the rear end of Stuart Lyons' car, and it's got the exact same suspension struts in that Hyundai as the Cupra next door did. That was really cool. You could see the parts were the same, and that is cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. Obviously, touring cars is different. They've basically got a list of approved parts they can use, but they don't all have to use the same ones. So WSR will likely use BMW bits or whatever, and Toyota use Toyota bits. It's more homologated in the TCR series. The racing, race 2 was very boring, to be honest with you. Brad Hutchinson chased down Shepard in front, who ended up with a problem anyway. What was also interesting in both races was that there was a period of about 5 laps where the racing was quite close, the field was quite close, and after that the spread was unbelievable. It was a huge spread, and the performance seemed to drop away from the cars.
One thing I did notice watching on the stream is that the cars struggled a lot with tyre warm-up, first of all. I know it was a chilly weekend.
It was cold.
But a lot of these cars are front-wheel drive, and you normally expect the front-wheel drives to deal with the colder conditions better because they can get those heat into the front tyres.
Agreed, but it was cold. It was cold. I can agree on that.
And of course, in touring cars, we've seen the rear-wheel drive cars struggle to get up to temperature slightly, but there seemed a very narrow window before the tyres then started going off in the TCR, and then lap time started increasing.
Race 1 was a good example. There was the Link & Co car in race 1. That was cool to see. A manufacturer I've not seen racing before. So that was cool to see that in the series. But that was dominating the first half of the race, and then it just fell completely. I know it got contact later on, but it hadn't got contact before it started to fall back through the field. And I don't really understand why. Newsham came from a long way back to win race 1. And again, I've not watched the series as a whole this season. I went to the final day because it was a chance to go to Silverstone, which is an hour down the road and a part I don't normally get to see. So, but that is the racing wasn't great in the TCRs, but
the sport races
absolutely rain on what we've seen this year in the touring cars.
So the sport races for this weekend were, there was a Compact Cup, which also had some 1 series at the back, which they're looking to integrate possibly into either the same race format going on to next season or possibly having 2 split grids.
Those included a double family as well in the Compact Cup.
There were Audi TTs of several generations, I believe.
Yeah, a couple of generations in there.
There was the Fiesta Cup, which were the ST240s.
2 class. No, you're right. The Fiesta Juniors are 2 classes. My apologies.
And there was one other
Civic Cup.
The Civic Cup, yes. Which again you've got early Civics, late Civics, and
there's also Mini 7s and Mini Miglias, which meant we saw Jeff Smith, we saw Andrew Jordan, Bradley Jordan,
Mike Jordan.
Sorry, not Andrew wasn't racing. Sorry, you're right, Mike Jordan. Yeah, absolutely. And again, anyone who saw those minis at Thruxton knows how good it was, and that race was absolutely fantastic. Jeff Smith was interviewed after he won his championship this year. And he said, 1 minute you're 6th, next you're 1st, then you're back down to 8th. It was daft racing. It was brilliant racing. The only race that wasn't particularly as good was the second Fiesta race. And the other problem as well is that at this level, it's not as high a level as you get in the touring car package. There was a couple of really nasty accidents and crashes. A couple of pictures on screen now of some of the written off cars. There was a particularly nasty one in the first Fiesta race that was so bad in terms of damage caused to the barriers and recovery that the free grid walk was cancelled, which is a shame.
They had to chop and change the timetable because of that, didn't they?
And it's not TCR's fault, but when your main selling point you can't deliver, and it's not great for anyone involved, albeit there were reasons why this made sense this weekend, and not even I could get on my soapbox and moan too much about it.
We have been on one of their grid walks before at Snetterton, and they let anyone onto the grid, and they'll get you to go from one end down to the other, which makes a whole lot of sense. Sometimes they don't do that in touring cars, and it blows my mind. But yeah, getting you to move through all the cars, so you get to see all the cars on the grid, and you can go and take pictures of your favourite driver, your favourite looking car. But the fact that it's free, and also the ticket price for this weekend was
20 quid.
20 quid.
Which is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you obviously got all the access in the paddock as well, which is really good. What else was I going to say? Silverstone itself, I don't understand why touring cars don't go to this part of Silverstone.
Yeah.
It's modern, it's cool, there's so much space, there's so much recent history there as well. And I think the race was better because it's a better layout. There's actual corners.
There are a couple more corners, yeah. I do... One thing I must say, having watched the stream, is that the camera positions could be a lot better.
Yeah, but part of me also thinks...
I know.
This isn't... They're not at the level touring cars are.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
The audience was better this weekend. There's more people there than there were at Snetterton. Snetterton, it was basically a UI and a couple of... we could have certainly filled a very small... sort of area at Snetterton, whereas it was better here. There's a fair amount here, but I think the ticket price helped.
Okay. Final thoughts then.
Final thoughts are
Would you go to another event first?
Yeah, I would go see it again. I think that it's a sport that is growing, and I'd like the support races probably more than the main package because I've been bored to tears of some of the support racing and touring cars this year.
Are there any of those support series, possibly aside the minis, that you would definitely take onto a touring car?
I think there's potential in the BMW Cup personally. Okay. I think that was the highest standard of racing in terms of. There's still some spills and bits and pieces, but I think that was the highest standard of racing that I saw, and I'd take that onto the one. I mean, the Civics were fun, but there was standard wise, I think the BMW is the closest to be able to come on the plane. It'll never happen, but I think they're the closest.
Never know, Gal might be listening.
Well, touring cars are too afraid of change, and that's the problem. This is a really cool circuit. There's so much space, there's so much parking, there's so much you could do and make. TCI didn't utilise all because there's not enough people that go to warrant a merch village and all this kind of stuff. I understand that, but there's so much space for touring cars to utilise. And whilst I agree on the camera angles, because I had YouTube on in the stands because 5G was working brilliantly, which is not so I can say to the other side of Silverstone. I just think it's a better circuit. But yeah, I would go to TCR again. I would. Probably look at next year at going maybe Snetterton, Brands or Silverstone.
Yep.
And it's a sport that isn't quite at the level of touring cars. Carl Bordley is the champion again. That is obviously an ex-touring car name.
Yep.
But
regained his title.
Yeah, but if you're looking for a real action-packed day of racing and you're looking for slightly perhaps less corporate style, perhaps a bit more grassroots, dare I say, style racing, it's a really good day out. And the fact you can walk down the pit lane, I said it's an RG who I went with, you're at this sort of event where all you can smell is bacon and engine oil, and that's what you can smell in the pit lane, bacon and engine oil, and that was great.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. If any of you out there went to TCR that weekend or have been to a TCR event this season, please do let us know your thoughts and your experiences of it. It's certainly one that we'll probably be looking into a little bit further next season and possibly doing a vlog or something along the way.
In touring car news, we'll be back on that soon, don't worry.
Yes,
Silly season has absolutely started. There's some cracking rumours going around at the moment regarding WSR and Toyota and lots of other bits and pieces. We will cover that in a future pod. We've got the season review coming up shortly as well. In fact, after this record, we're off to go on my laptop to do some grading, so that's exciting. That'll be coming out soon. So yeah, touring car content isn't going away over the winter. Stick with us as I'm going to take his line, get the bell on, get subscribed, get liked, get sharing, get all of that done, and we'll see you very soon.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon for another pod.